We're just talking.
That's it?
We're just talking.
But maybe because it's about wedding planning.
Baby, it's because
wedding planning.
This is episode 2 of the day.
Where is episode 5?
Where we drink and talk and talk and
talk.
Drink and
talk. Oh my God. All right. Where's our song? No, that's applause.
Oh my God. You think the champagne didn't go to your head, but it did.
There we go. It's the right one. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and drink. I am Kyle.
I am Allie. We
Cheers.
are here to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of the whole wedding industry.
Whoa, whoa. And today we are talking about wedding planning.
Planning, coordinating. What the fuck does it all mean? There's so much lingo and jargon involved.
And I know literally nothing about it. So you are the
As a wedding vendor, you know.
As a wedding vendor, I know nothing about it. I know about wedding photography, videography, but planning, that is right up your alley.
True, but
Wait,
Allie.
your
Is that the first time you put that together?
alley. What?
I know. It's cute.
How
It's
often does that
cute.
happen? Because I swear to
I
God,
say it
I've
a
known you for
lot.
years, and I just had this moment right now.
It's cute. I say it a lot. Up my alley. But like it almost sounds sexual, like up my alley.
I mean, knowing you, it usually will probably be that way
Turn
anyway.
sexual.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Well, you don't know much about wedding planning in the sense of
No.
how it all works, but you do know the importance of a wedding planner
100%.
and what a day is like when there isn't somebody.
Yes. And we did think of some questions that will be beneficial to any listener, whether if it's a vendor, specifically the brides, of what is wedding planning. So I'd love to be able to dive in and ask you some questions.
Oh, okay. Well, I just happened to be here with a glass of champagne, so dive right in.
Let's do it. What is the difference between a planner and a coordinator?
Yes.
Even asking this question and knowing I'm asking this question, I still don't know the answer to this question.
I don't know either. No. Well, I will say there is a lot of like loose terminology involved in the wedding planning game, right? There's full planning, there's partial planning, there's wedding design, there's month of coordination, day of coordination. So everyone has kind of their own definition a little bit. So know that going in.
Okay.
But I would say on general terms, the biggest difference between a planner and a coordinator is a planner is getting involved very early in the process, potentially first, potentially before you've booked a date, a venue, or anything else.
Okay.
And a coordinator is going to have a heavier hand towards the end of the process, more about execution of the day rather than the planning process. So I think when you start kind of getting into the wedding planning process and you're like, we're going to have a wedding, like step one, we're going to have a wedding.
You've been proposed to and you said yes.
Yes. Is this a thing that I need? The short answer is you don't need a wedding planner. There are so many resources out there. So many venues are very, kind of helpful and all-inclusive and offer so many different things. I tell people that wedding planners are for people with more money than time. Because at the end of the day, wedding planning takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
From researching your vendors and yelping the fuck out of everybody, calling people, emailing, getting contracts, all of that stuff. It takes a lot of hours, right? So if you are a busy ass person or just don't really care to do all of that stuff, hiring a wedding planner that is going to hold your hand a little bit more, take some of that physical, emotional labor off of your hands is a really good kind of thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a coordinator is going to come in typically later in the game, maybe 3 months before, maybe a month before, and is going to take everything that you've done, all the work that you've, kind of put into this engagement period.
Yep.
And we're going to, kind of finalize the details. We're going to pull it all together. We're going to cross all of the T's and dot all of the I's and make it happen on the day. So that's kind of the short answer of what the differences in between are.
Sure. Can you kind of give me some pros and cons of having a planner and a pros and cons of having a coordinator?
Yeah. So I think, again, as you're kind of looking at this, it's a little bit of a know thyself situation.
Sure.
So I talked about more money than time. That's a piece of it. Are you busy? Like, do you have the time to plan this wedding, this fucking insane party by yourself? But also, what parts of the process sound fun to you and what parts make you want to vomit and elope. So are you into the design and you love colors and flowers and like invitations and all of that? Pinteresting and Instagramming is like exciting to you and you can't wait to put together a mood board and like create all these things. Great. You probably don't need like a planner or designer. Like you have a lot of those aspects yourself. Do you love spreadsheets and emails and the research process? There's a lot of people that do love that part of it.
Yeah.
What parts sound appealing to you and what parts are like, oh my God, why are we doing this thing? And kind of finding the fit that fits you. Where do your strengths lie and where do your weaknesses lie and where can this other person kind of step in? So overall, when you're looking at the pros and cons, not just of a planner versus a coordinator, but of each vendor that you talk to, I think it's important to identify the parts that are important to you and the parts that are overwhelming.
I think too, have you seen in the couples that you have worked with a level of people that want coordination or planning reflective off of how much control they want to have in their wedding?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And there's certain weddings, certain venues that require more work and more planning, right?
Yeah.
So if you're getting married at kind of like an all-inclusive venue where like a lot of the vendors are already picked and like you get to pick between A, B, and C cake and whatever, that's also not like the venue for you if you are a person that wants a lot of control.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, kind of finding that person that can reflect upon your strengths and weaknesses. So if you are a type A spreadsheet kind of person, like make sure you pick up a planner or a coordinator that is also that kind of person because that's how you're going to be able to relate, But yeah, and there's nothing wrong with wanting a lot of control throughout the planning process, but still hiring a planner to help you because you've probably never done this before. Like,
hopefully not. And hopefully you never have to do it again.
Hey, as a divorcee, I resent that fact. I can't wait for my third or fourth wedding, okay? There's nothing wrong with having somebody guide you and hold your hand through the process, but you still having control over it.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's okay too. Like asking opinions, asking advice. I will, as a coordinator, I'll still look over proposals and kind of help couples decide between A, B, and C if that's like what they're coming down to.
Yeah.
Because you might want all the control possible, but you still don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece of a lot of people's planning journeys, whether they're hiring a videographer. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what questions to ask.
True.
I don't know what comes next in the planning process. I did this. Now what do I do? So I think that those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can still have a lot of control, but have somebody holding your hands and by your side. And a good wedding planner is going to be like a teammate. Like it's going to be like a wedding bestie that you can bounce ideas off of and, talk to and kind of maybe talk off the ledge when things are feeling really stressful or whatever.
Yeah.
But that is also just an experienced person. It's just like not like your mom that you've called for the 40th time about, what color napkins you want. This is somebody that can be like, bitch, get the ivory and call it a day.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, from our wedding, Steph and I mean, granted, we weren't in the industry and this was almost 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
We didn't have a planner and I didn't care. So from a groom perspective, I couldn't care less. So I feel like typically, and I'm definitely not stereotyping, but like generalizing.
Yeah.
I feel like if the bride or whoever is doing most of the design just wants help and the other significant other doesn't want to be a part of it, I think that'll also be a good opportunity to be like, hey, we should probably get a planner because respectfully, if you don't care for the design and the look and the details, which is honestly, it's okay if you don't. But if you want help with it, you can't also expect that other person, your significant other, to do all the things that you don't want to do anymore. And the last thing I'm assuming anyone was going to want to do is piss off the person they're about to marry over the wedding. Because at that point, I'm going to be like, fuck it, we're eloping.
Well, they do say that wedding planning is the first test of marriage because there is a lot of compromise and logistics and family drama and emotion and all of the things. But yeah, absolutely. I think having somebody who is you're paying, right, to be a kind of mediator, to be an emotional center throughout the whole process can be a huge benefit as well. I mean, there's a lot of emotional benefits, I think, beyond the logistics of like, this person is going to help you keep a payment calculator of
Yeah.
like when your deposits are due.
Yeah.
Like that's a very like bullet pointy part of wedding planning,
Yeah.
right? But being able to kind of talk through like, what are these religious cultural pieces that you want to include? How to sort of best do that? How can we honor like your dad's Jewish side without making this a Jewish wedding because that's not how you feel? Like whatever it is, like that. Those types of conversations are really important for a professional to be able to give you some insight into. Also, that like your fucking auntie doesn't have a very good opinion on, or she will have opinions, but she shouldn't.
Yeah, and I think too, if you want to have an awesome wedding, historically, you probably have never done this. So why not? Why wouldn't you hire a planner?
Yeah.
Or a coordinator at least.
Yeah, I think that the reasons people don't is typically budget, right?
Okay.
They think that this is not necessary. I can do it on my own. I don't need it. And again, I don't think you need a full planner. I think that you can do a lot on your own. There are wonderful like websites and millions
Resources.
of podcasts.
Hey,
blogs.
Let's go.
So many things that will help guide you through the process. But I will say, imperative to have somebody on the day. So a day of coordinator is the like terminology that you'll hear all the time. A true day of coordinator worth their salt is getting involved far before the day, of course. But there has to be somebody there to wrangle, to be the point person, to set up, to manage, to all of those things, because it shouldn't be y'all.
Yeah, I've been to the weddings where it has been just the couple and they're sweating and they're working. There's no first look. They've kind of just like, hey, good morning. Yeah, we stayed at the same hotel. We woke up together. We got breakfast, and we're here setting everything up.
We got to go put out chairs
Yeah,
now.
we seriously got to put out chairs. They're getting dirty. Like there's no the bridal party isn't really having a great time because you basically just asked the bridal party to be helping hands at that point. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I've seen the weddings where there isn't a planner or there isn't a day of coordinator or a good day of coordinator. And it's honestly at that point, it's just like, man, as the videographer of the day, I feel like I would have had more fun with you if you just eloped and we just drove to like Palm Springs or something, or like Mammoth, or I don't know, we just dumped all the money and went to where did you want to go? Bora Bora. Yeah, maybe we just went to Bora Bora and just hung out for 3 days.
Yeah, this is a huge event. I mean, most people get overwhelmed when they're hosting Thanksgiving dinner or some kind of dinner party. Like most people have not planned an event for 100 people that is going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. That is going to be managing all of these different moving pieces and vendors and things like that. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So it's okay that it's stressful. It's okay that you don't know exactly where to go. That is where a coordinator or a planner will step in.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, please don't set up chairs on your wedding day.
Don't do
it's
that.
So stressful.
Come on.
It really,
come on.
I really don't want you to be sweaty.
Please
I want
don't.
you to have champagne and enjoy yourself. Please.
Wait, champagne? Did you say champagne?
Sorry. Ding.
Cheers.
Ding.
I guess my next question would be, when do you book a planner? Before the venue, after the venue, after a photographer, before the photographer? Like when ideally is the best time to book a planner?
So I think a planner should be booked first or early. Because a planner is going to help you throughout the whole process, right? Even a coordinator, our day of month of coordination package includes vendor referrals and help, again, reviewing contracts and things like that. So,
Hashtag pop the champagne.
Hashtag pop the champagne events. So I think that you should absolutely hire somebody early because you're kind of like not getting the bang for your buck out of that planner if you kind of bring them in later, right?
Yeah.
Like they can be a resource and a tool to you. So use them for all of those things. Many people will hire a planner before venue hunting. There are some planners that only get involved after venue hunting. Venue hunting is a bitch.
I bet.
It's a bitch.
We should have another episode on venue hunting.
We will have an episode on venue hunting.
You said
but
something is a bitch twice. You haven't done that for any topic yet.
Bitch. One of my good friends does more full planning than I do more coordination, and she charges an extra fee to venue hunt because her normal planning does not include that. It is a whole animal on its own. So it's up to you. I mean, if you already have a venue and you're like, we found this, we found a date, great. That's a great time to bring in a planner. But if you're overwhelmed by the whole shebang and really want someone to hold your hands through the whole thing, then absolutely hire your planner first. Squeeze every last drop out of that planning budget, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Now it sounds good. So, okay. So say I've booked a planner now and I have a venue. What would be, from your experience, what would be the next best few vendors that you're trying to lock down or trying to encourage the couple to lock down?
Yeah. So we definitely want to book down, I call it our big ticket items, right? So when we're looking at the whole wedding budget, there's the ones that take up 15, 20, 25% of your budget. And then there's like signage and decor and, you know, hair and makeup and things like that are maybe a little bit down the road from a financial perspective, from a budget perspective. And I think it's wise to book your big ticket items first. Sometimes people get really caught up in like the pretty, right? They're like, but my colors are this, my whatever. Like people are talking to me about their colors and they don't even have like a venue. And I'm like, cool, but let's stay on track here. So hiring those big ticket vendor items will ensure, first of all, those are usually the ones that book up sooner, right? Your photographer, your florist, videographer, things like that.
Hashtag Shornwave.
Shornwave.com. But also it will give you a more accurate depiction of what your budget is going to actually be, right? Because someone's like, oh yeah, we're going to spend like $2,000 on photography. Well, it turns out your photographer is $4,000 and now your, you know, decor budget went way down. So it was just a smarter decision from a practical point of view to book anything that is going to be like the first 50% of your budget first.
Yeah. Okay. No, that sounds good. So, okay. So we've gone through and we've done or I guess actually big ticket items. Has there ever been, or I guess what are typically maybe the top 5 vendors? You know, you mentioned florals.
Photo, video, 1 and 2.
Yep.
Florals.
Okay.
Music.
Okay. So what music is like DJ, MC?
Either your DJ or your band, whatever your
I know the band can be freaking expensive sometimes.
Bands are very expensive.
Okay. I think I shot a wedding at Montage and I ended up finding out that it was a five-person band with 2 audio guys. And it was 15 racks.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Woo.
I am working with a client right now and their like dream is to have a band. Like that's all they want. But they were like, why is every quote we're getting back $20,000? Like I had no idea. Yeah. And a DJ is going to cost you $2,000. So there is a huge price discrepancy in that, right? So again, though, like you might be like, we're going to get a band. Like what's the price difference between a DJ and a band? Whatever, probably a little bit more. But that's why, and it's not, but that's why we're doing our research. And I mean, we have a whole other episode on budgets, but we're doing our research and finding some realistic numbers early on. But yeah, booking those big ticket items. So those are usually the big ones. It's going to be obviously your venue, catering. Maybe those are one or the other.
Yeah. Sometimes combined.
Photo, video, florals, and music are going to be your big ticket items, not only budget wise, but also like that's kind of what's make or breaking the rest of your day, right?
Yeah.
Like there's little stuff that no one's going to really care about at the end of the day. No one's going to be like, oh my God, you remember our signs? Like they were so great. Sorry to all my signage.
All of them are being butthurt right now. Like
there's so many beautiful signs out there. It can be a thing, but you know what I'm saying. Like those are the guest experience is ran by those items. So when we're prioritizing, those should be our top picks.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of signs, it has nothing to do with planning. I just remembered something that I know guests really enjoyed is when the couples wrote them an actual note on the dinner table. It was like, I kid you not, like, yes, I'm sure it's fucking time consuming as shit.
Yeah.
But every single person, when they walked into that reception, they were like, what? You literally wrote me a note?
I love
That's
that
freaking
too.
crazy.
Yeah, we've seen like personal notes written. You can put it like on your escort card. So when your guest goes and like picks up their, card to go to their table, there's like a note like, dear Aunt Karen, we love you. Thank you for flying from New Jersey, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more hurtful than that. Maybe that's what you say to your dear Aunt Karen.
I'm like, they're usually like a paragraph long. It's like 3 or 4.
Thank you for flying from New Jersey.
Thanks for my wedding gift. Yeah. Thanks for registering. Yeah.
Okay. Bad example, but yes.
I know
like,
what you mean, though.
Remember
Yeah,
that time in college and
Yes.
whatever. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
better way to make your guests feel more special. And that's
Yep.
always the goal.
Okay.
And those are things that a wedding planner can help you with.
Love it. Love it. Next question would be, what is a wedding designer?
Yes. So wedding designer can be an entire separate human, an entire separate category. Human. Wedding designer, human. Wedding planner, human. Sometimes those humans are the same. Sometimes those humans are the same. A planner will typically have a heavier hand in the design process.
Okay.
Making sure things feel cohesive throughout the process, right? Because a planner, again, you're getting them involved early. So they're also helping you pick out your invitations. And does the invitations match with the signage? Okay, signage is important, people.
I know what you,
On the day, like making sure there's more of a design aspect that is carried throughout the whole planning process in the event. But a designer is really like, that's their fucking job, right? So they are going to curate every aspect, whether that's the water glasses on your tables to,
the type of goblets that you have.
Yes, they're going to work with your rentals, your florist, your, all these other people to make sure that things are really cohesive and curated and feel like on the vibe that you're looking for. Which, again, this is not a necessary vendor category.
Yeah.
This is a if you have the
You have
budget and the time
save you time.
Or again, prioritizing, right? If this is something that matters to you, if you're like, I care about the pretty. Like, I care that my invitations are like wrapped in fucking suede ribbons. Like, that's okay. No judgment. But it's going to cost you and you probably will have someone kind of come through and everything. So they're the people that are going to make sure your shit is very Instagrammable and is gorgeous and stunning and every angle is covered and all of that. So that is a separate human and very valuable when they come in and do their thing, but not a like high priority, like you have to have kind of a person.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. What are the end stage duties of a wedding planner? What does that actually look like? I guess what we're talking about a month, like month of, or a week of, or even day of. What do you want to dive into?
Yeah, so I think a good day of coordinator or month of coordinator, again, all the stupid jargon, is going to get involved at least a couple months before, because that is when shit is starting to get real. So we have all of our vendors booked. We have everything's picked out. It's real pretty and great. But now we have like the RSVPs are in, where the meal choices are in. Like we have to like actually
execute.
It's like you have all these balloons in the air and now we're like grabbing the strings for the balloons and putting them into a beautiful balloon bouquet. That was a weird metaphor, but you know what I mean.
How about we're grabbing a bunch of flowers?
Oh, okay, into a more bouquet.
Keep
I know.
it
I don't know
more
why I went
wedding themed, not birthday themed.
birthday themed. Balloons are
It's
a
your
thing.
fifth birthday. Pop the champagne.
Now you're going to offend all of our balloon vendors. Balloons are a thing at weddings, but whatever. So for our coordination, when we're getting down to those end stages, now we are double checking everything. So our timeline says this, building a timeline.
Ooh, yeah,
we're going to have a whole episode on building a timeline.
That's got to happen soon.
And it's going to be 14 hours long because I have so many things to say about building a timeline. Your time.
I don't. It's not going to be 14 hours. I'm 100%. It's not. No, it's not. It's not going to be 14 hours. I promise you. Don't be scared.
It is super important.
It is important.
Your coordinator or planner should have built you a gorgeous minute by minute nitty gritty timeline for the day. You should have a gorgeous granule layout of everything and how this is going to be. And the end stages are really just confirming, making sure we're double checking the photo booth contract that they're coming at the right time. We're making sure, does a table exist at the venue? Do we have to rent that? Right. So there's so many little minuscule details.
Yeah. Catering doesn't need to buy an extra $6,000 thing because the venue doesn't provide it.
Deep fryer.
That's what it was.
For the chimichangas. Yes, all of those things.
Yeah.
Is the bar service bringing ice, or does the venue have, there are so many tiny details. So your coordinator should be doing all of that because you are going to have enough on your plate those last month, 6 weeks before your wedding.
Bachelorette party? Don't you have a bachelor party? Don't you have
parties.
To talk to mom about everything?
Exactly. You have your family drama. You have to go deal with your alterations. You have to deal. There's so many things that you have to deal with.
One of the bridesmaids was being a complete bitch, and now you're debating: do I keep her? Do I toss her? or
How do I
then it's
get
gonna
rid of
fuck
this
up then it's
bridesmaid?
gonna fuck up the alignment. You know what I'm saying? And then you got groomsmen that just all of a sudden disappeared.
The alignment.
The alignment
of the
when you're walking down the aisle.
Yeah, you
Who's
gotta
you
put an
can't
ad on
You can't
Craigslist.
have 1 and 2, 2 and 1. No, you know how awkward that looks.
You gotta put an ad on Craigslist finding new bridesmaids because the other one was a cunt. Whatever. Anyway,
Bitch got pregnant.
I can't have any fat bridesmaids in my.
Because in a month they're gonna get fat. Yeah.
Oh, JK. So yes, all of those little details that you do not want to worry about, should not be worrying about, cannot worry about, because again, this is not your job. You probably have another job that you also have to do.
Yep.
Your coordinator should be doing all of those things,
Yep.
those weeks coming up to it.
Okay.
And then your coordinator should be handling your rehearsal.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That
I
should-
forgot about that.
That's another-
That's a rehearsal. You got to go to.
You're
that
never
thing.
at the rehearsal.
Fuck no, I'm not at that.
The rehearsal is super important. I tell clients that like getting everyone down the aisle is not rocket science, right? Like most people have been in a wedding
Sure.
before, like it's not that complicated, but it's super important that your coordinator is meeting everyone, is saying, hey, we're the ones bossing you around tomorrow. Like we hand out our cell phone numbers to anyone and everyone
Yeah.
at the rehearsal. So
No, that's
hopefully they're
super
bugging
important.
us and not the couple, right? So rehearsal's a really big piece.
Mhm.
And then the day of course, your planner or coordinator is going to be executing all of that vision, making sure things look the way that they're supposed to look, making sure everyone's in the right place at the right time, making sure you're happy and have a drink in your hand.
Yeah.
And like mom feels taken care of. Like I like to tell our clients, as much as we are there to make everything look beautiful and, you know, weddings are supposed to be pretty, don't get me wrong. We always value the way things feel over the way things look.
Yeah.
And your guests will reflect
so
upon
true.
that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like, but our welcome table was supposed to be over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, bitch, but it is windy.
It is a welcome table.
It's windy and it didn't work over there.
You
and I had
have
to
someone
move it.
on staff literally welcoming them. It's windy. What do you want us to do?
Yeah. Silly example,
Yeah.
but that kind of stuff
No,
where
for
you're
sure.
like,
For sure.
it doesn't really matter. And dinner will run long or somebody's speech will be shorter than
Yeah.
anticipated or whatever. Again, this is a live event. There's going to be stuff that happens.
Yeah.
So your coordinator should not be like tied to that timeline or making sure, you know, they have to be able to think on their feet and know, you have to be able to trust your coordinator, your planner to know that they have your best interest at
Yeah.
heart. And at the end of the day, they are going to make sure everything is as close as possible to your vision.
Yeah.
But shit'll happen and that's okay.
And I think that's something really important to hit on because, like, again, just from my experience as a photo video, is like I can tell when you're having a really good time at your wedding or you're stressed about something.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to assume that, you know what, everyone needs to be adaptable and flexible on the wedding day.
Yeah.
I understand that, yes, you put your heart and soul into all of this timeline stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as long as you get married, hey, it's a win.
Yep.
It's a freaking win.
We want to
you
get
know?
married. We want to eat, drink, and dance. And really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah. If something happened to one vendor and they showed up late, hey, that wasn't your fault. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But guess what? You still had fun.
Yeah.
You can control what you can control is your reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't react. Just respond. Like, hey, you know what? It's all good.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
God grant me the wisdom to no. No, never mind. We'll cut that out.
We don't need to cut it out. I just don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, it's an AA
Like a proverb?
thing. No, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an AA thing. God grant me the wisdom to know what I can control and what I can't control, or some shit like that.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, no, it's accurate. It makes a lot of sense. You just lost me when you said God grant me and you paused. I was like, I was lost.
Lord help me.
What can you control? Obviously, not your memory.
No. This is the end of the champagne bottle that we're drinking. So God grant me the control
Oh man.
and the knowledge to know when to say,
Cheers.
see you next Tuesday.
No, we still have other questions. we still have other questions we need to talk about. There I go. I'm crying again. God damn.
Oh, that wasn't the end? Okay.
No,
Let's
it
keep
wasn't
going.
the end. No. Okay, next question would be, what types of couples do you love to work with, and what are types of couples or things that couples do that you don't really enjoy? I think this is important because it'll also provide the content to you listeners and watchers out there for couples.
Yeah.
It's just understanding of like, hey, these are things that you can do that will really help your planner out. These are things to do that will also stress your planner out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have our roles to take, and I know it's their job, and I know that they're planning your wedding.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you need to make sure that you have them on your back.
Yeah.
So here's some things to do and not to do.
Yeah. Well, I think the number one thing that comes to mind with that is when couples are like, we're like so cool. Like, we don't really care. We don't like whatever. Like, I don't care.
Okay.
I'm like, I need you to care a little. Like, you can be like the chill bride or whatever to a certain degree, but you still have to make decisions and you still have to communicate. As a coordinator where we're not involved through the whole planning process, right? Like maybe you've booked your own vendors and things like that. And we're kind of coming in towards the end again to help gather the bouquet of flowers, of details. If you like, we can only do what you give to us, right? We can only execute what you communicate. So having that open line of communication, like letting your coordinator do their job and like, you know, be a part of that whole end communication process is super important. So we have so many clients that are like, I don't really care about like how the napkins look or whatever. Like, okay, fine. But we need to make some decisions along the way. For sure. And I think it kind of also goes back to the knowing thyself part of it, right? Where I'm like, okay, you needed someone to help you more through this. Like, you didn't realize how busy you were and how much this was going to be. Like, we're coming in 6 weeks before the wedding as a coordinator, and shit is not planned. Like, shit is not figured out. So it's really about like doing your part and then letting the coordinator or the planner do their part as well. And finding someone that meshes with that vibe, because there are going to be some people that are going to be better at like wrangling you in and knowing, you know, what you need to do. And there are going to be like coordinators that are going to like let you just be the cool bride and like nothing's going to get done.
No, 100%. Okay. And, two questions that came up to mind while you were talking was, one is, how often, let's say I got, we'll call it at least month of planning, right? Or 1 month to 3 months. I don't know what the average is, but like 1 to 6 months. How often should I be hearing from the planner?
That's a good question. And I think it is different for different planners. Some have a very like set communication schedule. So they're like, we are going to do monthly meetings up until 6 months. And then at that point, we will talk biweekly and whatever. So some of them are going to be very straightforward about that. And that has not just to do with like managing your expectations, but also controlling their own boundaries. Because with wedding planning, it can be a little like, you know, couples can think you're at their every beck and call and like, you know, office hours do not exist because you are getting a thought about your wedding at 2:00 in the morning. And like, that's not super cool. Like, being respectful to your planner, the fact that they have other weddings that they're planning and I don't know, a life, a family, things like that can be a real thing. I just lost track.
I think that was a great point, because I think there was recently another planner that I worked with, and the couple and I think it was one of the moms were constantly contacting the planner, and I just felt bad for the planner of like, okay, I know that the planner hopefully they love what they do. But I think there is a fine line of like, there's also other weddings that they're trying to plan. And if you have, you know, the couple and the mom like on a daily basis of like, how's this and how's this and how's this, is like, you've got to learn how to trust.
You have to trust.
You have to learn how to trust and let go of certain things and let the planner just do what they came here to do. You don't want to micromanage. You don't want your boss to micromanage you. Don't do the same thing to the planner, because again, this is just from a videographer perspective. I saw this. So I can only imagine how often it was actually happening to the planner of like just constantly being not hounded, but hounded, you know, like
you should have a sense of open communication and being able to ask them questions and being able to reach out when you need to. But I think, being respectful and knowing that your time is valuable. I had a Zoom meeting with some clients last night that basically had like saved up all their questions from the last few months, right?
Gotcha.
They were like really random, like kind of all over the place questions.
Yeah.
But I so appreciated that they were like, we're going to take this hour now and we're going to talk to you
through
about all of these things. Yeah. So I think like the exact number of emails or number of phone calls, there are some planners that will be like, you get 6 phone calls and this many things.
Oh, they'll limit it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which
gotcha.
again, I understand setting your boundaries, but to me, that's a little bit weird, but whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, it's okay for your planner to like set office hours and to set boundaries.
Okay.
But you should feel comfortable enough to reach out if there's a thing.
Yeah.
And for us, when it comes down to like the week of the wedding, like, okay, you can text me, like we can be really down to it now. But other than that, I try to kind of draw a line somewhere. And to be honest, when I first started my business, like Pop the Champagne now specializes in coordination. Month of coordination is like our thing. That's all we do.
Okay.
But when I first started, I did full planning and I was so overwhelmed by the amount of communication that I had with clients. And like, I was like, how do I even charge enough for this to deal with these people for 18 months?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not just the bride, but her mom and
It's
whatever.
family, anyone interested, the sister, the
and then everyone
in-laws
gets the wedding planner's number and can ask her all the questions that they want. So that was
your phone number is being passed around. Passed around.
And everyone has an opinion. And yeah, like to be honest, that was a big part of why we switched our business model over because I was like, I cannot talk about ecru versus ivory for 18 months with these bitches. Like I gotta let's move on.
I don't care enough to want to do this.
I do not care enough. I really don't.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was also knowing my own strengths in as a human and as a human and as a business owner of like coordination and execution and all of this is like what I'm good at. Yeah. So that kind of goes back to the same thing, right? Is like finding someone that knows your strengths that can highlight what you're good at, that can like do their thing.
Yeah. Cause so I think it's fair that there are going to be some planners that don't have the same expectations, or don't have the same, like, I want to say like some planners will be good about or want to be good about constant communication for a year and a half. Yeah. And others will not want to be. So I think it's important to know what are the expectations and what are the boundaries, and asking those questions before or even in like a consult meeting with a planner.
Absolutely. Ask that early on. How can I call you anytime I need to?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, exactly.
And know that wedding planning ebbs and flows a little bit. When you first get engaged, there's so much to do and it feels very overwhelming. And then there's kind of like nothing to do for a little while. And then all of a sudden the last month or 2 months, there's a lot to do again. So know that there is kind of a natural ebb and flow to that. And like your wedding planner is working with that as well.
And I think that goes the same thing with photo video too, of like, as soon as you're inquiring and you book, like there's a lot of communication because you're setting up an engagement shoot. You're talking about the styles. Like there's a lot of communication back and forth. But as soon as like basically you sign a contract and you paid a retainer and you've had your engagement shoot, there's really nothing else to talk about until like
we good
a month before or a week before, and you get a timeline for the planner. Yeah. And then you can kind of pick up from there. So yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah. And I think people maybe like, this is the hot take on clients or whatever, but like y'all forget that like we are doing this every weekend every day. And I know this is like the most important day in your life. And obviously we treat it with that importance when it comes 100%. To your wedding day, like 100%. But we also have like, I have like 110 couples that I'm dealing with right now. Like no exaggeration.
I have 2 kids.
Yeah. Like there are so many other things happening. So like, yes, we care. Absolutely. It does not undermine our, know, the value that we place in your wedding, but know that like we are doing our jobs. We're going to do like, do our thing at the pace that we're going to do it, because we know that that's how it works. Yeah. So
My last question is, shoot, what was my last It was such a good question too. Fuck. Oh no.
Oh no.
It was lost. It was so good too. Oh, I remember it. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Okay. You're big on expectations. I feel like you should dive in just a tad of just because you hire a planner
Mm.
does not mean the vendors that you have already chosen to hire
Yeah.
will produce a different level of production because of the planner you have hired.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. There's like a lot to delve into there. Or just because you've hired a planner doesn't mean that your day is going to be executed 100% flawlessly.
Preach it.
Yeah. Like there's shit that happens, y'all, at live events. But oh my God, with the other vendor thing, how many times as coordinators, especially, right, where we're not involved maybe in every single vendor selection, where they're like, but my cousin's a DJ and like he's gonna do a great job. Well, your cousin showed up, he was drunk, and it turns out the DJ is pretty fucking important throughout the day. And I could be the best planner in the world, but I can't reel in your drunk cousin on the microphone.
Also, it's not my fault that he fucked up on the audio for the speeches that the videographer hired. Now the videographer didn't have good audio because it was your drunk fucking cousin DJ over there. Okay, cuz.
Absolutely. We all work together as a team and we're all relying on each other to make our the day a success and to make ourselves look good. So I can't do a good job if the photographer's a pain in the ass, if your cousin's drunk, whatever. I think that's a huge point. But I think, on like the greater level, it's like, just because you've hired these people does not mean that they're not human. It does not mean that mistakes won't be made. It doesn't mean that, there's other factors at play that your day may not be perfect.
Yeah.
And knowing that going in will just relieve so much stress when it comes to the actual day of, because you're like, whatever, shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for giving us the down fucking low on wedding planning, coordinating, and design. And all of the good stuff.
All of the things.
Till next time, we'll see you next Tuesday, everybody. Thank you so much.
See you next Tuesday.
Cheers. Wait, we got to finish our drinks.
Oh.
Bottle of champagne is gone. Let's go.